The Love Hashira, Mitsuri Kanroji, is introduced as a cute, emotional, and all-around loving person. It's hard to understand how such a person became one of the most powerful demon slayers in the world, but once we see her in action in the Swordsmith Village arc, all of our doubts are put to rest. Mitsuri is fierce in battle, going toe-to-toe with the strongest clone of the upper rank 4 demon, Zohakuden. Every time we see her in action, her speed, flexibility, and swordsmanship prove to be unusually impressive. But what makes her so strong? Why did someone with an optimistic personality like her even join the Demon Slayer Corps in the first place? Well, the reasons are interesting to say the least, so let's go over them in detail in this video. Before getting into the content, we'd like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to our channel, like and comment on our videos, and press the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload new content. We'd be grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content in the future. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Origins of Mitsuri, uniqueness that prompted ridicule in a conservative society. Mitsuri Kanroji was born during the Meiji period of Japan, which ranged from the year 1868 to 1912 approximately. She was most likely born during the end of the Meiji period, as she was 19 at the time of the events of the story, which take place in the Taisho period. She was one of 5 siblings, but unlike her other, more regular siblings, she possessed an absurd level of strength as a child due to her extremely dense muscle composition. Her mother was known for her strength too, but Mitsuri was too much of an anomaly, especially in a period where women were expected to be weaker, docile, and delicate, much more so than they are today. She had enough strength to lift a 33-pound rock when she was only 13 months old, but it wasn't considered impressive as she was a girl. In fact, it was a problem. Due to her unique body composition, Mitsuri also had an insatiable appetite and ate a lot. She had a penchant for eating the pink-colored sakura mochi for dessert, which led to her acquiring an unnatural pink and green hair color. Because black hair was the standard, and due to the fact that Japan is homogeneous and prefers homogeneity, Mitsuri was considered a freak. It was a combination of her strength, appetite, and hair color that led to society disregarding features and abilities that made her special and using them to mock her. This became an even bigger issue for her when it came to marriage, as she was the subject of society's ridicule. Back then, it was normal and even expected for women to get married early and craft themselves, their appearances, and their personalities with marriage as the ultimate goal. Naturally, this led to Mitsuri desiring the same. However, her intended husband explicitly stated how he shuddered at the thought of their children acquiring her weird hair color. Mitsuri had always desired love, maybe more so because she was unfortunate in that department due to her strength and appearance, and naturally, when she got rejected by the man she was intended to marry, it came as a huge emotional blow to her. To fit in better and eventually find love, Mitsuri dyed her hair black and cut down on her food habits to eat as much as a normal girl. However, the diet would make her head spin from weakness as her body required more food due to her dense muscles. She even tried to hide her strength to attract a man, and eventually it worked as she was approached by a potential partner. She knew she had only gotten that proposal because she had changed herself to fit into society's standards of what's acceptable, so she wondered if trying to be a different person was really the way to be. Eventually, this partnership broke, although it's not known whether he left her or she left him. Mitsuri's life as a demon slayer. Mitsuri then met Kagaya Ubuyashiki, who was the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps during the events of the main story. Seeing her unnatural strength, he knew that she was the perfect candidate to become a demon slayer. He told her to embrace herself the way she was, instead of trying so hard to be normal, as her strength was a gift. This was the push Mitsuri needed, and she ended up joining the Corps with the goal of finding a husband who was stronger than her so that her strength would never be a problem in her romantic life. She worked alongside the Flame Hashira Kyojuro Rengoku to adopt the flame breathing technique, but despite having been able to execute it, she never became truly proficient with it. As a result, Rengoku advised her to find a technique that was more compatible with her style. As a jovial and romantic person who desired love, Mitsuri developed her trademark love breathing from the flame breathing technique. Her tremendous strength allowed her to go up the ranks and become a Hashira herself. However, she would feel guilty about her reasons for joining the Corps, as many of her peers had suffered familial loss and the like, which were the reasons for them becoming demon slayers. The guilt caused her to eat less once again, but she was able to overcome her mental shortcomings with the help of the insect Hashira, Shinobu Kocho, and the serpent Hashira, Obanai Iguro, with the latter becoming her canon romantic interest. She opened up to her comrades more and more and displayed her more passionate and emotional nature, often swooning over them in her head, which led to her acquiring the moniker the Hashira of Love. A kind human being to the core, Mitsuri was loving, caring, affectionate, and child. During a Hashira meeting, she showed off her childlike nature when she was asked how she physically felt when she had acquired her Demon Slayer mark during her fight against the upper ranks. Unlike Muichiro, who was able to explain his momentary physical stats, Mitsuri used bizarre onomatopoeia and went on to feel shy about it. Despite such traits, however, Mitsuri was fierce in battle. Mitsuri's unusual body composition. What initially felt like a curse proved to be a blessing in disguise. Born and blessed with tremendous power, Mitsuri cleared the final selection to be a demon slayer after 6 months of training, a stark contrast to Tanjiro having taken 2 years. This was made possible by her abnormal muscle constitution, which made her muscles 8 times denser than those of the average person, regardless of gender. So she didn't possess a muscular frame, but had the strength to overpower a much more muscular man. However, with denser muscles comes a higher metabolism, which means the person needs more and more food to maintain their bodily functions, which led to Mitsuri's insatiable appetite, allowing her to eat more than what 3 sumo wrestlers. Meanwhile, her strength could be compared to that of the Wind Hashira, the Flame Hashira, and the Water Hashira. Although she was able to overcome her mental blocks after growing close to the other Hashiras, she continued to repress some of her strength as it had become second nature to her. Despite that, she was able to cut through the group of demons created by the upper rank 5 Gyoko with ease during the Swordsmith Village arc. This muscle composition helped her greatly in her battle against the upper rank 4's clone Zohakuden, who had been created using the demon's hatred, making it the strongest clone the demon possessed. As Zohakuden had hit Mitsuri with a sound attack from a point-blank range, Mitsuri's endurance and strength allowed her to maintain her physical structure and continue the battle instead of getting blown apart. During the final battle against Muzan, she was able to rip off one of the Demon King's appendages with her bare hands, shocking Muzan himself. Her strength and dense muscle, however, did not take away from her speed at all. She was fast enough to react to upper-rank demons before her opponent could even comprehend what was going on. She even dodged Zohakuden's sound and lightning waves and sliced through them without breaking a sweat. The demon realized how formidable his opponent was and had to switch his game plan, as he then decided to prolong the battle so that her stamina would become exhausted. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to defeat Mitsuri at all. However, years of harsh training ensured that she possessed exceptional stamina and endurance, allowing her to endure until Tanjiro defeated the upper rank 4's main body. Mitsuri's weapon of choice, her fighting style, and how it's all made possible by her flexibility. While strength is Mitsuri's USP, so is her flexibility. Her extremely flexible body allows her to have a wide range of motion and helps her with her gymnastic-inspired fighting style, aided by her unique Nichiren sword that operates like the ribbons used by gymnasts when they perform. For this reason, she was tasked with flexibility training for the other demon slayers during the Hashira training arc. Mitsuri used a Nichiren whip katana as her weapon instead of a standard katana. It had a very thin, long, and flexible blade akin to a whip attached to the hilt, and Mitsuri moved it like a ribbon as she whipped it past her opponents. Its bizarre shape gave Mitsuri tremendous range in battle, but it also made it a hard sword to craft and had to be created by the chief of the swordsmith village, Techen Techi Kawahara, who was the best swordsmith in the game. Mitsuri managed to control such a complicated weapon due to her being an extremely skilled swordswoman and her great flexibility. Her style of swordsmanship was special to her, and her remarkable skill allowed her to cut through almost any attack. She could also bend and weave through her opponents, slashing several targets at once or leaving cuts on the same area multiple times. Such a weapon could only be lethal in the hands of someone like Mitsuri, who had the flexibility to make it work, as the high-speed actions with incredible range would lead to anyone else being cut by their own blade. The Demon Slayer mark of the Love Hashira. Previously, we had mentioned how Mitsuri repressed her full strength even as a Hashira due to her mental blocks from romantic rejection and due to being the subject of social ridicule. In this Swordsmith Village arc, however, her strength was pushed to its limit, and it had to be unleashed for the sake of victory. The intensity of the battle increased her body temperature and heart rate dramatically, and being in close proximity to Tanjiro, who had a permanent Demon Slayer mark, allowed her to awaken her own mark when she tapped into her true potential, precisely because Demon Slayer's marks resonate from one swordsman to another. She became faster and stronger, allowing her to fend off Zohakuden until sunrise and having withstood and countered the upper rank 4's most dangerous attacks. Mitsuri's original breathing style, love breathing. Mitsuri started off as a user of flame breathing due to having trained with Rengoku, with flame breathing being one of the 5 breathing techniques that originated directly from Yoriichi Sugikuni's sun breathing. She later developed love breathing as a subset of flame breathing, which went on to become her standard technique as it was more suitable for her, incorporating aspects of her emotional and romantic personality with her flexible body and whip-like sword. The combined effect of her unique sword and the love breathing helped her battle in ranges longer than what should have been possible with the average katana. In the story, we see Mitsuri employ 5 forms of love breathing. First form, Shivers of First Love, witnesses her dash forward to create a single slash on her target. The whip-like nature of her sword allows her to cut several areas with one strike. Second form, Love Pangs, has Mitsuri utilizing a long, winding swing that attacks the target from multiple angles. Third form, Cat Love Shower, requires Mitsuri to leap into the air and create several arch slashes consecutively and quickly. Fifth form, Swaying Love Wild Claw, has her leaping into the air once again. She then performs a somersault to release multiple rapid, winding, long-range slashes, creating a tornado to capture the opponent. The wind from the tornado is composed of slashes and allows her to cut through her prey. And finally, sixth form, Cat-Legged Winds of Love, has her extending her sword completely as she performs an arched slash. She then retracts the sword and extends it once more. When the retraction and extension are performed consecutively, utilizing great speed, layers of slashes are formed. She likely has more forms of love breathing, as noted by the fact that we see the third form and the fifth form, but not the fourth form. But from the ones we have seen, it can be stated that most of her attacks are very offense-based and do not specialize in defense. This makes sense considering Mitsuri's fighting style and body composition, allowing her to dodge and withstand attacks without having to rely on her sword for defense. Her relationship with Obanai, Mitsuri achieving her goal of finding a lover stronger than her among the Hashiras. Love is something Mitsuri has always sought, and it's an apparent and important part of her personality. Having joined the Corps to find love in someone stronger than her, Mitsuri found it with the serpent Hashira, Obanai Iguru. Obanai fell in love with Mitsuri at first sight when he saw her standing under a sakura tree. However, Mitsuri, despite her nature, continued to be oblivious to her comrade's love for her. Meanwhile, Obanai could not bring himself to confess his feelings due to his own traumatic past, where he was raised by a family of thieves and fed to be eaten by a demon serpent they worship. Iguru's attempted escape led to the deaths of 50 of his relatives, and he was blamed by the demon for their deaths, which eventually led to Obanai believing that he was of filthy blood. This was supported by his family taking the riches from the families killed by the demon. The trauma from his upbringing and his subsequent guilt and self-loathing made Obanai incapable of confessing his feelings to Mitsuri, probably more so because of her optimistic and loving personality, as he didn't want to taint her with his perceived filthiness. Naturally, this led to the love between him and Mitsuri being unrequited and even one-sided for a while. However, Obanai was not averse to showing his care for her. He would show her affection by giving her gifts, food, and the green socks that matched the green in her hair. Mitsuri would always wear those socks with her outfit, and his care for her led to her falling in love with him. This was supported by the fact that Mitsuri was ridiculed for her hair color, and her former potential husband broke off their relationship due to his hatred for their children acquiring her hair. However, Obanai was different, and he never wanted her to change anything about herself, and even got her socks, not just to give her a gift, but because he thought it would suit well with the unique color she was born with, the very hair color that had been the subject of mockery. He was also not like the people who had an issue with her excessive eating as a woman, and even encouraged it by finding happiness in gifting her food and watching her eat. Mitsuri and Obanai would exchange letters with each other due to their shared love, but there was always a lack of confession from his end. In Japanese culture, a relationship is never formally commenced until the kokuhaku, which is a formal confession from one person to another, the confession generally being done by the man. But Obanai's self-loathing prevented him from doing so. In the final battle against Muzan, Mitsuri was fatally injured by the Demon King, and Obanai immediately rushed to her side. When he rejoined the battle by himself, Mitsuri screamed his name as she begged him to come back alive. By the end of the battle, however, Obanai met a similar fate with fatal injuries. He cradled Mitsuri's body, with both of them on the verge of death. Together, they reminisced about their time as demon slayers, and Obanai states how Mitsuri made him feel normal. She went on to claim how she felt that she was useless in the end. Obanai stopped her immediately, claiming that he wouldn't let anyone say anything bad about her. Ultimately, Mitsuri confessed her love first, stating that she loved how he always looked at her so gently and how she enjoyed sharing her meals with him. She asked him to make her his wife in another life if they reincarnated as humans, and Obanai accepted the proposal as he promised to protect her and keep her happy. At the end of the manga, we see all of the characters reborn in the Reiwa period, or Japan's current era. This allowed Mitsuri and Obanai's vows to be fulfilled, as the two enjoyed a normal life as a married couple. The life of Mitsuri Kanroji during the events of Demon Slayer, the Rehabilitation Training Arc. We meet Mitsuri for the first time in the Rehabilitation Training Arc, which follows Tanjiro's battle against the lower-ranked demon Moon Rui, after which the Kamado siblings were brought to the Demon Slayer headquarters. The Hashiras had assembled in front of Kagaya Ubuyashiki, and most of them could not wrap their minds around Nezuko being allowed to live as a demon. Mitsuri, however, expressed her uneasiness with the idea of Nezuko being killed. We also got to see her emotionally erratic nature as she was horrified by Sanemi, or the Wind Hashira, stabbing Nezuko, and she subsequently went on to break into laughter when Tanjiro headbutted it. Mugen Train Arc. Mitsuri didn't play much of a role in this arc and was only seen when she was shocked and saddened by the passing of the Flame Hashira, who was her former sensei. Swordsmith Village Arc. Mitsuri was a prominent character here and one of the MVPs of this arc. She reunited with Tanjiro in the Swordsmith Village and was happy to see him after his battle and victory against the upper rank 6 with the Sound Hashira. She ran towards him in tears. During dinner, she even played with and hugged Nezuko, who she found cute. She sang while holding her hand and entertained Tanjiro's question, in which he asked her why she had joined the Demon Slayer Corps. She briefly spoke about her issue with marriage and expressed how women wanted a man who was stronger than them and could protect. No man in her daily life or even among the Demon Slayer Corps could be stronger than her unless he was a Hashira, which led to her joining the Corps to meet a stronger Hashira who would marry her for the rest of her life. She was soon separated from Tanjiro when she had to go to the swordsmith workshop for the finishing touches on her unique sword. She motivated Tanjiro to always do his best and appreciated him for helping defeat an upper-ranked demon. She also expressed her support towards him and Nezuko. Before she left, she advised Tanjiro to find a secret weapon in the village that could make him stronger, which was later revealed to be the Yoriichi Type 0 battle. The village was eventually attacked by the upper-rank 4 Hantengu and the upper-rank 5 Gyoko. On hearing the news, Mitsuri returned to the swordsmith village while Gyoko's mutant demons attacked the swordsmiths. She sliced through the demons with a single swift attack before cutting down a mutated fish demon created by Gyoko for wounding the internal organs of the village chief, who would generally craft her sword, saving him from being killed. Meanwhile, Muichiro, or the Mist Hashira, went on to handle the main body of the upper rank 5, while Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Genya fought the upper rank 4, who was revealed to be able to make powerful clones that had manifested from the demon's several emotions. After most of the clones were defeated, the anger clone of Hantengu merged all 4 of the clones to create Zohakuten, the most powerful form of the demon created from his hatred. The clone created tree dragons, and Tanjiro found himself on the verge of being swallowed by it when Mitsuri arrived to save him. She sliced the creature's head and carried Tanjiro to safety. She then put him down and asked him to rest as she headed out to battle Zohakuten by herself before he could tell her that the demon was the upper rank 4. She began a casual conversation with the emotion clone, and she claimed that the demon looked younger than her, but was shocked when it called her a harlot. He then attacked her with thunder, but she countered it quickly as she went on to declare how she was getting angry, and that was unforgivable despite the demon's childlike appearance. Meanwhile, Tanjiro and the demon were surprised by her strength. As the battle continued, Zohakuten realized how Mitsuri's speed was a huge problem for him. He unleashed his wooden dragons, and she used the wide-ranged, love-breathing 6th form to cut through his attacks, eventually getting close enough to his head to slice it. Tanjiro yells at her that this was not the main body, while Zohakuten had his mouth open. As she realized her mistake, Zohakuten hit her with a compressed sound wave that made her lose consciousness, but she was able to withstand the attack due to her tough body, allowing her to condense her muscles and survive. She was broken free from Zohakuten's wood by Genya and Nezuko, while Zohakuten perceived her to be high-quality meat as he then tried to crush her brain and skull. At that moment, Mitsuri remembered her past while Tanjiro, Nezuko, and Genya tried to protect her, with Tanjiro claiming that Mitsuri was their only chance at winning. The demon launched another attack, but Mitsuri, now back on her feet, cut through the attack, reluctant to let anyone die and unwilling to lose to evil. Finally, Mitsuri got serious as she remembered everyone close to her and decided to protect them all, allowing her to unleash her repressed strength as she sliced through Zohakuten's wooden dragons. She intentionally increased her blood circulation and quickened her heart rate to increase her strength and speed, allowing her to awaken her Demon Slayer mark. The demon was surprised by her increased abilities as well, and the amp allowed Mitsuri to cut through everything Zohakuten launched at her. Unable to defeat her, Zohakuten decided to prolong the battle so that Mitsuri would run out of stamina. Before that plan could work in the demon's favor, Tanjiro managed to kill Hantengu's main body, causing Zohakuten to crumble into dust. Mitsuri was overjoyed and pulled Tanjiro, Genya, Nezuko, and the boy named Kotetsu into a group hug as she rejoiced in their victory. Hashira Training Arc. Mitsuri was present during the Hashira meeting, where she learned about the leader being sick. Alongside Muichiro, she was asked to explain how she had awakened the Demon Slayer mark. She went on to use a variety of random sounds to explain how she had felt in that moment. This led to the Hashira training, with Mitsuri in charge of flexibility training, not just for the other Demon Slayers to get stronger and awaken their marks, but also for those with marks to maintain their marked states. She reunited with Tanjiro after he reached the Kanroji residence, and she showed him how she made honey to put in her bread. Soon after, the training showed off how Mitsuri had everyone in ballet clothing being forced to dance elegantly non-stop, and while trying to increase their flexibility, Mitsuri used her brute strength to stretch the bodies of the Demon Slayers, leaving them limp and in pain, which Tanjiro described as hell. Infinity Castle Arc. Soon after, Muzan reached the Ubuyashiki estate, and Kagaya Ubuyashiki acted as a decoy to blow Muzan apart as the estate exploded. The Hashiras, including Mitsuri, rushed to the location, hoping to save the leader, oblivious to the fact that it was all part of a plan. As Muzan tried to regenerate, Lady Tomeo hit him with a drug that could turn him human and used her blood demon art to keep him in place. Soon after, Stone Hashira Gyome, who knew about Ubuyashiki's plan, destroyed Muzan's head. As the Demon King instantly grew his head back, Mitsuri and the other Hashiras joined the fight when they were suddenly sucked into the Infinity Castle and scattered within the structure. Mitsuru and Obanai went on to encounter the new upper rank 4, the Biwa-wielding Nakame, whose blood demon art controlled the Infinity Castle. Although the Love and the Serpent Hashira were strong enough to take on Nakame, the demon's blood demon art prevented them from getting close to her, as she could constantly control their environment within the castle, preventing them from landing their attacks or even getting proper footing. Soon after, Mitsuri found out about the insect Hashira Shinobu sacrificing herself against Doma to allow Kano and Inosuke to win the fight against the upper rank 2. With Shinobu being younger than Mitsuri, the Love Hashira was encouraged to give her best against any demon, regardless of how strong her opponent was. Mitsuri then tried to behead Nakame, but was prevented from doing so by Nakame's blood demon art, Castle Manipulation, as it put a wooden door between Mitsuri and her target. The sword came into contact with the door, which was then pushed away by Nakame, making Mitsuri fall off the edge, almost to her death. She was soon saved from the fall by Obanai. They rejoined battle, but the Castle Manipulation tried to separate them as they tried to brainstorm their strategy to find out how Nakame's blood demon art worked. As Mitsuri was about to be killed by a column, she slashed it open and found an opening to attack Nakame with, but once again she fell prey to Castle Manipulation and was made to fall. Obanai failed to land his strikes as well, and claimed that Nakame's blood demon art was different compared to the other demons, but was the most frustrating to fight against, alluding to the fact that one cannot really fight such an ability. The situation was ultimately salvaged by Lady Tameo's assistant Yushiro, who possessed the blood demon art of creating paper talismans, which, when fitted on the head of another, allowed Yushiro to share their vision. He used the talisman on Nakame and took control of the Infinity Castle, shifting the rooms in a way that would expose Muzan to sunlight after the sunrise. This also allowed him to get Mitsuri, Muzan, and the other demon slayers out of the castle. Muzan was soon engaged by Tanjiro and Giyu, while the Demon King told them how Nakame had killed Mitsuri and Obanai. However, the Love Hashira and the others launched a surprise attack on Muzan, and Muzan learned about Yushiro taking control of the castle to use it against the Demon King to avenge the death of Lady Tameo. Sunrise Countdown Arc. In the final arc, the Hashiras engaged Muzan at the city, trying to stall him for an hour and a half until sunrise. Muzan countered and overpowered the attacks launched by the Hashiras using his appendages, but they soon realized that Muzan had nearly instantaneous regeneration. Mitsuri's mark activated again, and it allowed her to resist the effect of Muzan's demonic blood. He then tried to land a fatal attack on her, but she was saved by Gyome. However, Muzan continued to be too powerful for the Hashiras no matter how many tricks they tried, even with Muzan being weakened by Lady Tameo's drug. Mitsuri shocked Muzan by tearing off one of his appendages with her brute strength, but she was ultimately exhausted from constantly dodging his attacks. She was soon taken out of the battle and fatally injured with her hair, left ear, and arms torn and cut off. Obanai rushed to her aid, and she screamed at him to stay alive when he went back to fight Muzan. After Muzan's secret attack took out all of the Hashiras, a dying Obanai and Mitsuri confessed their love to each other and promised to get married in their next lives. In the epilogue, we see the descendants of Tanjiro, Kanao, Nezuko, and Zenitsu, among others, living in modern-day Japan. Mitsuri and Obanai have both reincarnated and gotten married, with Mitsuri working at a preschool and Obanai being aggressive towards those who ogle his wife's chest. Maybe there is such a thing as a happy... Marvelous verdict! Mitsuri is a character who is very easy to root for. She's lovable and we want her to be happy. Her origins seem odd until you think about how society was for a Japanese woman at that time, and her distinctiveness was the bane of her existence. But little did she know that it was her destiny to use the very strength she was mocked for to become one of the strongest demon slayers in history. With that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of the Love Hashira, and what are your favorite Mitsuri moments? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and until next time, see you around and have a marvelous day.